All right, let's get back into it. In the last lesson, you learned the law. When a constraint collapses, the value migrates. Chase the collapse and you lose. Capture the migration and you win. The RIAA or the Medici. The constraint that organized the knowledge economy for a century was this. If you wanted to produce text, analysis, code, images, or strategic synthesis, you needed a trained human mind and significant time. That was the constraint. Every consulting firm, every law firm, every agency, every professional service and business on earth was organized around it. The constraint has collapsed, not partially, not theoretically, it has collapsed. Let me be precise about how far. Text generation, 95% collapsed. A competent first draft of virtually any standard business document can be produced by an AI system in seconds. Email, memo, report, proposal, marketing copy, job description, press release. The cost has fallen from hundreds or thousands of dollars in human labor to fractions of a cent in compute. The remaining 5%, writing that requires genuine insight, emotional precision, or structural originality, remains a human advantage. And that advantage is becoming more valuable precisely because the floor beneath it has risen. The constraint on competent text is gone. The constraint on excellent text persists. This distinction is the migration. Code generation, 85% collapse. AI programming tools have compressed software development timelines by a factor of 3 to 5 for standard implementation tasks. GitHub reported pull requests up 23% year over year and total commits up 25% to 1 billion annually. These are not marginal improvements. They represent a structural change in the velocity of software production. The code constraint has collapsed. The architecture constraint has not. Image and design. Image and design generation, 70% collapsed. AI image generation is now sufficient for the majority of commercial applications. Social media content, marketing materials, product mock-ups, website imagery, presentation visuals. The constraint that organized the design industry for decades has collapsed for the production layer. What remains is brand-level creative direction, the taste to select from abundance, and the strategic judgment to know which visual approach serves which business objective. Production collapsed, direction persists. Analysis and research synthesis, 80% collapse. An AI system can now aggregate 100 sources, synthesize findings, identify patterns, and produce a structured analytical report in minutes. The constraint on data gathering and synthesis has collapsed. The constraint on knowing which questions to ask, which frameworks to apply, and which conclusions to trust has not. Complex multi-step reasoning and autonomous execution, 30% collapsed. Agentic AI is rapidly advancing, has not yet reached the reliability threshold for consequential business tasks. The trust gap remains. Organizations are willing to let agents handle routine tasks, but not strategic ones. The constraint is collapsing, but is not yet collapsed. It will. The timeline is 18 to 36 months. Now, here is what this uneven collapse means for you. The domains where the constraint has fully collapsed are the domains where chasing the collapse is futile. The value has already migrated. The domains where the constraint is still collapsing are the domains where the migration is still in motion and the positioning window is still open. So, where has the value migrated? 4 places. Migration point 1, judgment. when anyone can produce a competent first draft in seconds, the ability to evaluate whether that draft is correct, appropriate, strategically sound, and aligned with objectives becomes the bottleneck. Production was the old constraint. Judgment is the new one. This is why junior analyst work is being automated while senior partner judgment is becoming more valuable. These are not contradictory trends. They are the same trend. Constraint migration viewed from two different layers. The operator positions at the judgment layer. Who sells the ability to evaluate, select, and direct AI output rather than the ability to produce it, is positioned at the migration layer. The operator who positions at every judgment layer, who sells the ability to evaluate, select, and direct AI output rather than the ability to produce it, is positioned at the migration point. The operator who sells production speed is chasing the collapse. Migration point 2, orchestration. A single AI tool is a commodity. A system that coordinates multiple AI tools, data sources, human expertise, and business processes into a coherent operational architecture is the new scarcity. The individual model is the MP3. The orchestration layer is Spotify. This is the layer where the AI integrator operates, and it is structurally the most valuable position available to the small operator in the current revolution. The model providers compete at the infrastructure layer with billions of dollars in capital requirements. The surface layer tools compete in a commoditized bloodbath. The orchestration layer is contested by relatively few operators, requires relatively modest capital, and creates the switching costs that the surface layer cannot. The entity that builds an orchestration practice now captures the migration at the point of maximum value and minimum competition. Within 24 months, the orchestration layer will be crowded. Right now, it is almost empty. Migration point 3, trust infrastructure. When the cost of producing credible-looking output drops to zero, the question shifts from, can you build this, to, should I believe this? AI can produce a flawless-looking financial analysis that contains a hallucinated data point. It can generate a compelling legal memo that cites a case that does not exist. The output looks right. The question of whether it is right requires a trust layer that the AI itself cannot provide. Trust must be built through demonstrated competence at speed, through a track record of AI-augmented deliverables that are accurate, insightful, and reliable. The book is a trust-building instrument. The weekly Signal newsletter is a trust-building instrument. The case studies that accumulate over engagements are trust-building instruments. Each one deposits into the trust account that compounds into the structural moat that the cascade cannot reach. Migration point 4, proprietary context. Generic AI is a commodity. Every operator has access to the same models, the same capabilities, and the same general knowledge base. The differentiator is proprietary context. The specific data, domain knowledge, operational frameworks, and accumulated institutional intelligence that an operator brings to deployment. AI amplifies proprietary context.
Replaceable.
It does not replace it. The model is the engine. The context is the fuel. The operator with the best engine and no fuel produces generic output. The operator with proprietary fuel and a competent engine produces output that no one else can match. The strategic implementation is clear. Accumulate proprietary context deliberately. Every engagement, every analysis, every client interaction generates context that, if captured, organized, and made available to AI systems, becomes a compounding asset. Now, here is the number that matters the most. As of right now, the collapse of cognitive production costs is approximately 80% complete. The capture of the migration the strategic positioning of judgment, orchestration, trust, and proprietary context is approximately 10 to 15% complete. The majority of investment, attention, and organizational effort is still directed at the collapse layer rather than the migration layer. This gap is the arbitrage. It is the Rothschild trade of the current revolution. The operator who builds at the migration point is buying consoles while the floor is panicking.
Permanent.
The structural reality has already changed. The market's pricing of that reality has not caught up. The gap between the two is where the asymmetric returns play. The gap will close. It always closes. The current estimate for the closure is 12 to 24 months. By early 2028, the migration points will be widely understood, and the orchestration layer will be crowded, and the trust premium will be priced into the market. The positions established before that closure will be structural. The positions attempted after it will be expensive, competitive, and late. 12 to 24 months. The clock has started before you open this course. It has not paused for you to watch it. Here is your diagnostic for this lesson. Take the 4 migration points: judgment, orchestration, trust, and proprietary context, and map your current practice against each one. Where are you building right now? Are you building at the collapse layer, selling production speed? Or are you building at one or more of the migration points? Be specific. Write it down. For each migration point, answer 2 questions. Am I positioned here today? And if not, what would it take to get there in the next 90 days? The answers to those questions are the beginning of your structural position. Lesson 2A is the second law, the sacred doctrine. It is the law that explains why the most intelligent institutions in the world will defend the old model until the old model destroys them.
Next.
And why the defense is the greatest gift that the operator could ask for. I'll see you there.